Trump!
I am the Mad Emperor Trump, your sovereign and protector.
Hail the Mad Emperor Trump!
Bow before me, for I shall rule with unchallenged might. Hail the Mad Emperor Trump!
I'm sick of the blue, I'm sick of the foam. I just want to walk the sweet path to home. The wind is a thief, it steals every breath. This endless horizon feels heavier than death. Why cry to the shore? But they close the gate. They lock me out here in the arms of fate. I'm so tired of the sea, so tired of the foam. I begged for the land, but they won't let me home. No, they won't let me home. Just waves and the dark. Alone.
Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. March 17th, 2026. Hail the Mad Emperor Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene came out. I don't know where she got her information. Said they want to use nukes on Iran. You realize that could end the world. Hail the Mad Emperor Trump. Yes, indeed. Why can't we get him out of office? I don't understand it. Who in his cabinet is not a sycophant? Will you quit sucking up to the Mad Emperor and put the kibosh on this lunacy that exists in the Trump administration? All right, I just wanted to start with that. Hit that like button and subscribe to avoid or dodge censorship. Watch my videos on BitChute, Rumble, the Burn channel. And then, of course, I am the Burn Report on Telegram. I'm now up on Blue Sky, of all places, because ChatGPT recommended that. And, of course, I'm at that CyberSec guy on X. All right, so let's get into the video up front. That was just Hail the Mad Emperor Trump. And then, of course, I followed that with Mario and Nafal. So YouTube pulled GANDOCRAFT's channel after they published this video. You know the U.S. is getting desperate to control the narrative when it starts covering AI Lego videos. And, well, if you're seeing this video, I put it in front of this. So we'll see. Maybe my video will get pulled too. You never know. This is Sputnik, Russia's long-range Geran drones on NATO's doorstep expert. So Russia's long-range Geran-series seeker drones are capable of reaching further than Romania's border. Yevgeny Mikhailov tells Sputnik, commenting on strikes from Ukraine's Danube, ports of Reni and Izmail, just 100 meters from NATO territory. In principle, they are capable of reaching the Polish border as well, and anywhere else that is needed, he notes. Modified variants feature greater speed and range, reportedly up to 2,500 kilometers per hour. Some are jet-powered and more sophisticated, enabling strikes on Ukraine's western rear, including LVOV, Love, and Ivano Frankowskov I'm sorry. All these Russian terms, man. I tell you, I have a hard time pronouncing all this stuff. Do the best I can. Key logistics hubs for Western supplies. Now, why am I talking about these? I just want you to focus on the drone warfare and how things have advanced. As I reported in my last video, we lost about 25% of our Reaper drones. We need to learn how to make cheap 10,000 Russian-made drones here in the United States. Well, until we nuke the world, that is. Guidance systems deliver accuracy measured in hundreds of meters. NATO is focused on reinforcing air defenses along Ukraine's borders, particularly in Romania, notes the pundit, arguing that if Russia crushes the Ukraine regime fast enough, it may knock out any desire to tangle with it. So, yeah, I've been watching some people on X, and they're talking about, oh, yeah, Russia's the aggressor, yeah, bull crap. The United States beefed up Ukraine since 2014 for this war. It'll be over by Christmas. I know you're saying, oh my God, that cybersecurity guy, you've been talking about the war since, 3 years ago. Yeah, I thought it'd be over 3 years ago. but Russia is more interested in killing Ukrainians than they are about advancing their front lines, although the front lines are advancing. Don't get me wrong. They're moving along rapidly now. And also, you got to remember, each of those cities that we've fortified since 2014 were fallback positions for the Ukrainian military. And so they're running out of places to fall back to, is what I'm saying, because slowly but surely Russia's taking those big cities. But that, in today's warfare, having a strong defensive position is more important than having a good offense. And so that's why things are taking so long. Russia has reportedly carried out a major strike on a Ukrainian military command center. The facility was said to be an important command and coordination hub for Ukrainian forces. The strike reportedly caused severe damage, with parts of the facility destroyed and fires breaking out nearby. The Russian Defense Ministry has previously reported strikes on Ukrainian military command centers using precision-guided weapons. And in the last video, I was telling you how many NATO officers or CIA operatives or MI6 or Mossad have died in Ukraine. I would say we're probably getting into the thousands at this point. Of course, the American people will know nothing about it because you're just a mushroom sitting in your house. Let's do DD Geopolitics. The U.S. Navy continues to limp along. The USS Benfold, DDG-65, a Navy Arlift Burke-class destroyer, was left dead in the water for 4 days in the South China Sea last month after its generators failed and knocked out all power. USNI News confirmed the breakdown happened on July 24th. First I'd heard about this, so that's why I wanted to report on it. During routine operations, with the 7th Fleet spokesman, Commander Matthew Comer, saying no crew were hurt. With no power, the crew had no working kitchen, toilets, air conditioning, or clean water for days. The nearby George Washington Carrier Strike Group had to step in and help, with the cruiser USS Robert Smalls supplying meals to Bedford's stranded crew. Bet you it's the first time you're hearing this story, huh? Well, you think our Navy's functioning all 100 on all 100 cylinders? I don't think so. The destroyer finally reached Subic Bay in the Philippines on July 28th, where Navy repair crews met it and moved sailors into shore lodging the next day. Power wasn't back until July 30th, 6 days after it first went out. Repairs wrapped up by August 7th, and the ship left port August 8th, later arriving in Yuka, Japan group, which appears to be heading towards the Middle East. The Navy said it is still investigating what caused the failure. All right, let's keep going. This is Ryan Robinsky, Burbiniani, Rozbiani. Tell you what, he does a lot of good reporting on that. You might want to look him up. Iran. No decision yet to resume U.S. talks. Iran does not want to waste time on negotiations that go nowhere. Even after a deal is made, it is not honored, so what's the point? Iran's foreign minister, Dr. Abbas Akari, we have not yet made a decision to restart negotiations with the United States. Dr. Akari said mediators from Qatar and Pakistan are exchanging messages with Iran, but this does not amount to negotiations. There will be no negotiations. And by the way, if we do nuke Iran, Israel, all my Zionist buddies out there, Israel's going to cease to exist. Okay, so you pop off a few nukes, all that radiation flows around the Middle East. Of course, that'll kill a bunch of people, just the radiation alone, not to mention how many people, well, the civilians that will kill above ground by hitting it with nukes. But I guarantee you, those underground bases under those granite mountains, that nuke ain't going to have squat to do. And then Iran, you know, the people that are left alive, especially the ones down in the bases, they'll be left alive. They're going to come up and launch everything they got. The Middle East and Israel are going to cease to exist. You want that? Hail the mad Emperor Trump. All right. Health Ranger. What's the new pitch for young Americans to join the U.S. Navy? This is great. I tell you what, the Health Ranger's putting up some good stuff. You got to check him out. Lose weight on every deployment. That's a good thing. Learn to really love your mama's cooking again. Spend months locked in a steel cell with no sunshine. Enjoy the body odor of fellow sailors who sleep above and below you and who haven't showered because the showers are now mold growth experiments. Be used as bait where the Pentagon hopes you get killed with an enemy rocket strike so Trump can justify another pointless escalation. How true those words are, huh? I wouldn't want to be in today's military, U.S., basically mercenaries for Israel. That's all that we are at this point. These sailors should receive medals for not for enduring enemy fire, but for enduring the Pentagon's torturous mistreatment of their own sailors. Now, I want to add to that just 1 second. See, back in my day, I served in the military, 1983 to 2003, somewhere around there. Officers ate last. You always made sure, especially, and I was a platoon sergeant, I ate last too. I never ate with the officers, but I had to wait until all my troops were properly fed before I could eat as a platoon sergeant. All right? That's the way command should work. Not in today's military. The officers are up there enjoying lobster and steaks, and from what I understand, the enlisted sailors on these ships are eating rice and beans. Yeah, okay. The USS Abraham Lincoln is now a floating POW camp. I couldn't agree more. This is Charlie Bilello, Bilello. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. President Trump, November 2024. Well, yeah, that's when I was big Trump supporter. MAGA. MAGA is dead. Remember MAGA. During every single day of the administration, I will very simply put America first. Trump, January 2025. And now, pretty soon, I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. President Trump, August 2026. Something happened to the dude. He's being blackmailed, or he's lost his brains, or something. I always think of that Star Trek episode where they brainwash you. Something happened to Trump. I don't know what happened, but we need to get him out That's all I got to say. I mean, do I want Kamala Harris in there? No. J.D. Vance, I think, will probably do a pretty good job, maybe. Who knows? Harmo's report. The U.S. Navy has been forced to move its entire Gulf supply network to Diego Garcia, more than 2,200 miles away, after an Iranian strike completely destroyed its main logistics hubs in Bahrain, the UAE, and Oman during the first days of the war, per the New York Times. Do I believe anything that comes out of the New York Times? For the most part, no. But every now and then, the CIA slips them a piece of valid information. Let's keep reading this. Within days of the war's start, Iranian missiles and drones struck the Navy's main logistics hub in Bahrain, destroying decades of infrastructure. The attack forced the Navy to relocate its supply point to Diego Garcia, a British-controlled island nearly 2,200 miles or 3,500 kilometers, for those of you who are a metric system. Why don't we convert over to the metric system? Why do we still have miles or degrees or whatever? Convert over to Celsius once and for all. United States, we're dumber than a bag of stones in this country. Probably most kids don't even know the metric system. The longer supply route directly contributed to severe shortages aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln. Food, hygiene items, and basic supplies have become scarce, adding to the strain on a crew that has spent over 260 days at sea without a single Liberty port. Iran also reportedly fired 2 ballistic missiles at Diego Garcia on March 20th, a clear message that even the backup hub is within reach of Iranian missiles. Imagine that. Now we get RT. RT, American sailors gives look inside the U.S. aircraft toilets. This ain't even the worst part. They say, join the Navy, right? Wait till y'all see toilets, man. Y'all expect me to take a doo-doo in this? Join the Navy, though. Right. And we got a video on that.
All right, y'all. So a couple of y'all wanted to see how the ship look, or the head look, aka the bathroom. The shower's right here, you feel me? This is what we go through on a carrier in the Navy. They say join the Navy, right? Join the Navy. Yeah, look at this, y'all. This is crazy. This ain't even the worst part, man. Sinks atrocious. Wait till y'all see the toilets, man. Look at the toilet. Y'all expect me to take a doo-doo in this, y'all? Nah. Y'all crazy. Look at this. Come on now. Join the Navy, though, right? Join the Navy. Yeah, alright, bro.
Now, reason I wanted to play that quick video, which has been all over X. If you're on X, you've probably already seen it. When I was over during 2003 on Operation Iraqi Freedom, I would go into the bathroom and I would literally open up what this guy was doing in that video, every stall. And because not only was the shit beside the toilet, sometimes the shit was boiling out of the toilet. And so I had to find one that I could use. And a lot of times it'd be only one toilet that was operational out of, 15 in these places. And that was because of the command. So you're supposed to have teams of people that go in and clean the toilets. And that means that command has to come down and they have to select, peons like me and say, go in there and clean those toilets. Well, nobody was doing that. I never even saw my first sergeant during Operation Iraqi Freedom. I couldn't tell you to this day the name of the first sergeant that was that was over me during that war. That tells you how screwed up our military is. Sprinter Press. Germany expresses concern over Vladimir Putin's warning about a possible response to attempts to seize Russian ships. Security expert, that's page 4. Yeah, okay, I'll go to page 4. Security expert Moritz Barici told Bild's newspaper that Germany should take Russian president's warning seriously. If you didn't know, Europe has said they're going to seize Russian's shadow fleet. So Putin, in the last video, I put up a video about him. He was in eastern Russia, and he told the sailors, he said, look, we're going to do the same thing to Europe that they do to us. So that thing could escalate pretty wildly. Yeah, we're going to use nuclear weapons and everything. According to the German Insurance Association, Russian response could be costly for European shipping and trading companies. Insurance companies are likely to tighten insurance terms, and the redirection of cargo will lead to an increased delivery times and costs. The German Ship Owners Association has expressed its concern. Earlier, Putin stated that authorities in some Western countries were considering the possibility of seizing Russian ships and selling the confiscated assets. He called this piracy and stated that Moscow would respond, adding that Russia would choose the time and place of response, including possibly in the area of responsibility of the Pacific Fleet, and that Ministry of Defense has already received the relevant instructions, as I showed in my last video. Let's keep going. We're just about done. I know the video is a little long tooth today. Iran just put up another billboard threatening the United States forces in Tehran. Let's look at that picture. I got it up right now. Can you imagine going to New York City and this is the billboard that you see? That's the equivalent of what Iran has done. The massive display shows the skeleton of a U.S. soldier lying on the rocky shore of the Straits of Hormuz while an Iranian ship sails through the water behind him. This isn't some random spot. It's sitting right over Revolution Square, where Iran has already displayed billboards showing Trump in a coffin and others depicting him being strangled. Yeah, I tell you what, if I were an Iranian, as far as I know, the Iranian government has not come out and said they're plotting to kill Donald Trump. But that doesn't mean a lot of Iranian people that travel the world don't want Trump dead. I'm going to tell you that right now. The message comes from tensions are heating up again, with the month-long U.S.-Iran ceasefire reportedly set to expire today. No agreement yet to extend it.
آنچه که در یادداشت تفاهم اسلام آباد آمده خاتمه جنگه، یعنی در یادداشت تفاهم اسلام آباد خاتمه جنگ اعلام شده. بله آمریکا این یادداشت تفاهم رو نقض کرده و ما دوباره درگیری ها شروع شده، ولی چیزی ما به عنوان آتش بس نداشتیم که حالا بخواد تمدید بشه. خاتمه جنگ رو داشتیم که الان وضعیت جدیدی رو پیدا کرده. هم قطر هم پاکستان پیام‌هایی رو رد و بدل می‌کنن، در تماس با ما هستن ولی اصلا به معنای مذاکره نیست. ما هنوز تصمیمی برای شروع مجدد مذاکره با آمریکا گرفته نشده. ما فعلا داریم یک مسیر موقت رو طراحی می‌کنیم که بعد در مراحل بعدی تبدیل به مسیر نهایی بشه. یک کار فنی هست بین متخصصین دو کشور داره انجام میشه. نیروهای مسلح درگیرش هستن، به هر حال اونها صاحب نظر اصلی در این خصوص هستن. ممکن هست که به زودی به نتیجه برسیم، ولی میخوام تاکید بکنم که این مذاکره با باز شدن تنگه هرمز دو بحث جداگانه هست. یک مذاکره فنی هست مربوط به تعیین مسیر دریایی. وقتی این مسیر تعیین شد، حالا آیا بازگشایی بشه تنگه یا نه، اون منوط به تحقق شرایط دیگری هست که باید آمریکا به اونها پایبند باشه.
Iranian officials don't exactly sound optimistic either. One advisor to the parliament speaker recently said they're basically prepared to wait Trump out until his term ends. Tehran's billboard department certainly isn't taking the ceasefire off. That's per the New York Post writer Danielle. Kim.com. This is the most important video you will watch this year. Millions were killed with COVID-19 for profit. COVID-19 was an act of biological warfare perpetrated on the human race. It was a financial heist. Nature was hijacked. Science was hijacked. Now, I told you in the last video I'm going to start working the COVID stuff. I just got too much of it. I mean, there's just so much evidence. I mean, I can't believe that there aren't pitchforks and knives out for Fauci. Of course, Trump ain't going to do squat. He was the one who sponsored Operation Warp Speed and brought the jab into existence. But this is like an 8-minute video.
It is a particularly interesting location for me to be sitting today, given that over a decade ago I sat in this very chair right here in the European Union Parliament. And at that time, I warned the world of what was coming. During that conversation that was hosted at the time by the Green and EFA and a number of the other parties of the European Union's various representations, we were having a conversation on whether Europe should adopt the United States policy of allowing for the patents on biologically derived materials. And at the time, I urged this body, and I urged people around the world, that the weaponization of nature against humanity had dire consequences. Tragically, I sit here today with that unfortunate line that I don't like to say, which I told you so. But the fact of the matter is, we're here not for a reprisal on past decisions. We're here to actually, once again, come to the face of the human condition and ask the question, who do we want to be? What do we want humanity to look like? And rather than seeing this as an exercise in futility, which is very easy from time to time when you're in the position I'm in, I actually see this not as an exercise in futility. I see this as one of the greatest opportunities that faces us, because we now have a public conversation, which is now front and center in people's minds. When this was an esoteric conversation about biological patents, nobody cared. But when that conversation came home, then it became something people can care about. So I'm actually quite grateful for this opportunity. I thank the members of Parliament for hosting this. I thank all of the translators who, I apologize in advance. I will use terminology that is probably very difficult to translate, so my apologies. And I'd also like to acknowledge the fact that many of you are aware of my involvement with this, in large part due to the amazing work of my wonderful wife, Kim Martin, who encouraged me at the very early days of this pandemic to get on front of the camera and talk about all the information that I had been sharing among very small groups around the world. And it was in fact her encouragement that put me in a place where many of you have heard what I have to say. Ironically, the world that I came from, that used to be very popular, my CNBC and Bloomberg presentations, which were televised on mainstream media around the world, was an audience that I lost. I can confidently say COVID diminished my fame. But I can also confidently say that I'd rather stand among the people with whom I'm standing today than any of the folks that were part of that previous world. So this is a much better place to be. My role today is to set the stage for this conversation in a historical context, because this did not come in the last 3 years. This did not come in the last 5 or 6 years. This actually is an ongoing question that probably began here in Europe in the early stages of the mid-1900s, but certainly by 1913, 1914, this conversation started right here in Central Europe. The pandemic that we alleged to have happen in the last few years also did not happen overnight. In fact, the very specific pandemic using coronavirus began in a very different time. And we'll try to advance the slides here with one of these things. Oh, there we go. Most of you don't know that coronavirus as a model of a pathogen was isolated in 1965. Coronavirus was identified in 1965 as one of the first infectious replicatable viral models that could be used to modify a series of other experiences of the human condition. It was isolated once upon a time associated with the common cold. But what's particularly interesting about its isolation in 1965 was that it was immediately identified as a pathogen that could be used and modified for a whole host of reasons. And you heard me correctly, that was 1965. And by the way, these slides are public domain. You're welcome to look at every single reference. Every comment that I made is based on published material, so do make sure that you look at those references. But in 1966, the very first COV coronavirus model was used as a transatlantic biological experiment in human manipulation. And you heard the date, 1966. I hope you're getting the point of what I'm saying. This is not an overnight thing. This is actually something that's been long in the making. A year before I was born, we had the first transatlantic coronavirus data sharing experiment between the United States and the United Kingdom. And in 1967, the year I was born, we did the first human trials on inoculating people with modified coronavirus. Isn't that amazing? 56 years ago, the overnight success of a pathogen that's been 56 years in engineering. And I want that to chill with all of you. Where were we when we actually allowed, in violation of biological and chemical weapons treaties, where were we as a human civilization when we thought it was an acceptable thing to do to take a pathogen for the United States and infect the world with it? Where was that conversation? And what should have been that conversation in 1967? That conversation wasn't had. Ironically, the common cold was turned into a chimera in the 1970s. And in 1975, 1976, and 1977, we started figuring out how to modify coronavirus by putting it into different animals, pigs and dogs. And not surprisingly, by the time we got to 1990, we found out that coronavirus as an infectious agent was an industrial problem for two primary industries, the industries of dogs and pigs. Dog breeders and pigs found that coronavirus created gastrointestinal problems, and that became the basis for Pfizer's first spike protein vaccine patent, filed, are you ready for this, in 1990. Did you hear what I just said? 1990. Operation Warp Speed? I'm sorry. Where's the warp and the speed? Pfizer, 1990, the very first spike protein vaccine for coronavirus. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't it fascinating that we were told that, well, the spike protein is a new thing. We just found out that that's the problem. No. As a matter of fact, we didn't just find out it was not just now the problem. We found that out in 1990 and filed the first patents on vaccines in 1990 for the spike protein of coronavirus. And who would have thought? Pfizer. Clearly the innocent organization that does nothing but promote human health. Clearly Pfizer. The organization that has not bought the votes in this chamber and in every chamber of every government around the world. Not that Pfizer. Certainly they wouldn't have had anything to do with this. But oh yes, they did. And in 1990, they found out that there was a problem with vaccines. They didn't work. You know why they didn't work? It turns out that coronavirus is a very malleable model. It transforms and it changes and it mutates over time. As a matter of fact, every publication on vaccines for coronavirus from 1990 until 2018, every single publication concluded that coronavirus escapes the vaccine impulse because it modifies and mutates too quickly for vaccines to be effective. And since 1990 to 2018, that is the published science, ladies and gentlemen. That's following the science. Following the science is their own indictment of their own programs that said it doesn't work. And there are thousands of publications to that effect, not a few hundred. And not paid for by pharmaceutical companies. These are publications that are independent scientific research that shows unequivocally, including efforts of the chimera modifications made by Ralph Baric in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. All of them show vaccines do not work on coronavirus. That's the science. And that science has never been disputed. But then we had an interesting development in 2002. And this date is most important. Because in 2002, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill patented, and I quote, an infectious replication defective clone of coronavirus. Listen to those words, infectious replication defective. What does that phrase actually mean? For those of you not familiar with language, let me unpack it for you. Infectious replication defective means a weapon. It means something meant to target an individual, but not have collateral damage to other individuals. That's what infectious replication defective means. And that patent was filed in 2002 on work funded by NIAID's Anthony Fauci from 1999 to 2002. And that work, patented at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, mysteriously preceded SARS 1.0 by a year. Dave, are you suggesting that SARS 1.0 wasn't from a wet market in Wuhan? Are you suggesting it might have come from a laboratory in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill? No, I'm not suggesting it. I'm telling you that's the facts. We engineered SARS. SARS is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. The naturally occurring phenomenon is called the common cold. It's called influenza-like illness. It's called gastroenteritis. That's the naturally occurring coronavirus. SARS is the research developed by humans weaponizing a life system model to actually attack human beings. And they patented it in 2002. And in 2003, giant surprise, the CDC filed the patent on coronavirus isolated from humans in violation, once again, of biological and chemical weapons treaties and laws that we have in the United States. And I'm very, very precise on this. The United States likes to talk about its rights and everything else and the rule of law and all the nonsense that we like to talk about. But we don't ratify treaties about, I don't know, defending humans. We conspicuously avoid that. We actually have a great track record of advocating for human rights and then denying them when it comes to actually being part of the international community, which is a slightly problematic thing. But let's get something very clear. When the CDC in April of 2003 filed the patent on SARS coronavirus isolated from humans, what did they do? They downloaded a sequence from China and filed a patent on it in the United States. Any of you familiar with biological and chemical weapons treaties knows that's a violation. That's a crime. That's not an innocent oops. That's a crime. And the United States Patent Office went as far as to reject that patent application on 2 occasions until the CDC decided to bribe the Patent Office to override the patent examiner to ultimately issue the patent in 2007 on SARS coronavirus. But let's not let that get away from us, because it turns out that the RT-PCR, which was the test that we allegedly were going to use to identify the risks associated with coronavirus, was actually identified as a bioterrorism threat by me in the European Union sponsored events in 2002 and 2003, 20 years ago. That happened here in Brussels and across Europe. In 2005, this particular pathogen was specifically labeled as a bioterrorism and bioweapon platform technology. Described as such. That's not my terminology that I'm applying to it. It was actually described as a bioweapons platform technology in 2005. And from 2005 onwards, it was actually a biowarfare enabling agent, its official classification from 2005 forward. I don't know if that sounds like public health to you. Does it? Biological warfare enabling technology. That feels like not public health. That feels like not medicine. That feels like a weapon designed to take out humanity. That's what it feels like. And it feels like that because that's exactly what it is. We have been lured into believing that EcoHealth Alliance and DARPA and all of these organizations are what we should be pointing to. But we've been specifically requested to ignore the facts that over $10 billion have been funneled through black operations through the check of Anthony Fauci and a side-by-side ledger where NIAID has a balance sheet and next to it is a biodefense balance sheet equivalent dollar-for-dollar matching that no one in the media talks about. And it's been going on since 2005. Our gain-of-function moratorium, the moratorium that was supposed to freeze any efforts to do gain-of-function research. Conveniently, in the fall of 2014, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill received a letter from NIAID saying that while the gain-of-function moratorium on coronavirus in vivo should be suspended, because their grants had already been funded, they received an exemption. Did you hear what I just said? A biological weapons lab facility at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, received an exemption from the gain-of-function moratorium so that by 2016, we could publish the journal article that said, SARS coronavirus is poised for human emergence in 2016. And what, you might ask, Dave, was the coronavirus poised for human emergence? It was WIV1, Wuhan Institute of Virology Virus 1. Poised for human emergence in 2016 at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, such that by the time we get to 2017 and 2018, the following phrase entered into common parlance among the community. There is going to be an accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen. The operative word, obviously, in that phrase, the word release. Does that sound like leak? Does that sound like a bat and a pangolin went into a bar in the Wuhan market and hung out and had sex and lo and behold, we got SARS-CoV-2? No. Accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen was the terminology used, and 4 times in April of 2019, 7 months before the allegation of patient number 1, 4 patent applications of Moderna were modified to include the term accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen as the justification for making a vaccine for a thing that did not exist. Keep going. If you have not done so, please make sure that you make reference in every investigation to the premeditation nature of this, because it was in September of 2019 that the world was informed that we were going to have an accidental or intentional release of a respiratory pathogen so that by September 2020, there would be a worldwide acceptance of a universal vaccine template. That's their words, right in front of you on the screen. The intent was to get the world to accept a universal vaccine template, and the intent was to use coronavirus to get there. And the last slide. This isn't advancing, so if I could have somebody do it. Let's read this, because we have to read this into the record everywhere I go. Until an infectious disease crisis is very real, present, and at the emergency threshold that is often largely ignored. To sustain the funding base beyond the crisis, he said, we need to increase the public understanding for the need for medical countermeasures such as a pan-influenza or pan-coronavirus vaccine. A key driver is the media, and the economics will follow the hype. We need to use that hype to our advantage to get to the real issues. Investors will respond if they see profit at the end of the process. Sounds like public health? Sounds like the best of humanity? No, ladies and gentlemen, this was premeditated domestic terrorism stated at the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in 2015, published in front of them. This is an act of biological and chemical warfare perpetrated on the human race, and it was admitted to in writing that this was a financial heist and a financial fraud. Investors will follow if they see profit at the end of the process. Let me conclude by making 5 very brief recommendations. The last slide. Nature was hijacked. This whole story started in 1965 when we decided to hijack a natural model and decide to start manipulating it. Science was hijacked when the only questions that could be asked were questions authorized under the patent protection of the CDC, the FDA, the NIH, and their equivalent organizations around the world. We didn't have independent science. We had hijacked science. And unfortunately, there was no moral oversight in violation of all of the codes that we stand for. There was no independent, financially disinterested, independent review board ever impaneled around coronavirus, not once. Not once. Not since 1965. We do not have a single independent IRB ever impaneled around coronavirus. So morality was suspended for medical countermeasures. And ultimately, humanity was lost because we decided to allow it to happen. Our job today is to say no more gain-of-function research, period. No more weaponization of nature, period. And most importantly, no more corporate patronage of science for their own self-interest unless they assume 100% product liability for every injury and every death that they maintain. Thank you very much.
And then we're going to follow up with my my latest song, which I produced last night, and we're just about there. So let's finish off the video here. We are watching the world burn together at the Burn channel on Rumble and BitChute, and of course the Burn Report on YouTube and Telegram, and then of course I'm at that CyberSec guy on X, and now I'm on Blue Sky. At the Burn Report on Blue Sky. Peace out, stay free, stay frosty, and do the best you can.
قالوا ترامب على الطيارة والصحافة بلا انتظار طلع من الباب التاني على الخضرة يا للعار بندورة خسوة خيارة لا موكب ولا سيارة سكروا الباب يا شباب خلينا ننفذ بريشنا خلينا ننفذ بريشنا
People say, hey, Doc, I took the shots in 2021 and all of a sudden, boom, a blood clot in 2026.
So even though I never took the shots ever, I should take that too? You think so?
Yeah, if your blood test is over 1,000, I'd say play it safe and take it.
Well, let me go get it. So if it's under 1,000, then don't worry about it. But if it's over 1,000, take it. Okay.
Right.
All right. And so what I was going to say to you was what's amazing is you had the shot. Okay, if a person had the shot, not much you can do about it. You wish you could do over, but there are no do-overs in life. But you certainly should never take another one. And It's funny because in the last month, I've been with two great friends who are two great Republicans, supporters of Trump. Everything I talk about, they agree with me. They're both MDs, and they both bragged in the middle of our dinners. Two separate people, two separate dinners. Oh, I get my flu shots and I get my COVID shots every year, and I'm very proud of it. And I thought, all these doctors have been brainwashed, Peter. They're brainwashed. I just don't get it.
More and more data suggests we should go natural, not keep taking flu shots or COVID shots or RSV. If you're people our age, Wayne, and we're strong, diet, fitness, supplements, go natural for a better outcome.
Trump's gone bat crazy, crown tilted on his head. World's on fire while the cameras stay fed. Endless wars he wants to wage, no exit in the plan. People keep walking out the door of the emperor's land. Soft times make soft people, now the hard times roll in. Moral compass spinning wild from Europe to the Holy Land, to the States again. Elites feel privileged, floating high above the fray, while the ground shakes under ordinary feet every single missiles and drones lighting up the night. No more soft bluff. Driving the Americans out of the Middle East sands, while the Strait stays locked and the oil slips through their hands. Hormuz choked, tankers stalled, fuel lines running dry, dollar bleeding out while the debt hits 40 trillion high. They strike the bases, they hit the ships, they bleed the whale. Emperor's wars keep spinning, but the costs are climbing still. No plan to get out, just more fire in the sky. People walking out the door while the body count climbs high. How long can this go on? Dollar dying, slow debt climbing to 40 trillion strong. Ashes crushing Ukraine, 1,000 dead each day. Iran's destroying the US, driving the